It was interesting. A very good friend of mine challenged me when I had learned about my diagnosis. We were having lunch, and I basically was like, "Look, I don't feel sick. I don't want to be sick. This like this doesn't work for me. This whole cancer
Yeah.
thing. It's not it's not in the program. It doesn't work for me." And when I kept saying the words, "I have cancer," she really challenged me. She said, "No, you don't. It's not about having something. It's about experiencing it." And she was absolutely right. And when I changed my mindset to I was walking through this, I was experiencing something that I wasn't in love with. I didn't
Mhm.
have it. I never got to own it. And that was where
Mm.
some of the gift was, is because I never owned cancer, it really didn't become part of me. And it was just that experience, like, going to an amusement, like, I got to experience an amusement park or visiting
Right.
Hawaii or anything else that sounds like it's fun, although the amusement park probably doesn't sound fun to everybody. But, to me, those are joyous things. When I looked at this as an experience, it changed that outlook significantly. So
Mm.
now when I can sit and say, there were times that I made cancer fun, and people think I'm nuts for saying that, and I might be a little bit, but I think the nuts is actually in a good way to accept that challenge.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you are watching or listening. This is the Holistic Monitor, and I'm your host, Nick Sconia. The Holistic Monitor podcast is a weekly show featuring guest interviews with discussions about self-discovery, philosophy, spirituality, and our relationship with the world around us. Your support this last year has meant the world to me, and you can now go to holisticmonitor.com to support the topics you want to hear with our new show merchandise, featuring hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. You can also support us by simply sharing your favorite episode with your followers. And with that, let's get the show started. Dr. Cindy Howard, you are an author and a motivational speaker. And I really thank you for being here tonight on the show. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what spurred you into you writing your book, and of course into wellness and healthcare?
Sure, and thank you. This is fabulous. So I'm going to do what you always say, right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and
Yep.
it's great to be here. A little bit of background. So I am what they refer to as a chiropractic internist, which is a big fancy way of saying that I have a degree in chiropractic medicine, and I also hold what's known as a diplomate in internal medicine and nutrition. So
Mm,
I've been practicing for almost 25 years, helping people really with their wellness and their health and their journey, and navigating that a little bit more on the holistic side than the allopathic side. And it's interesting because the book and the journey really came because I had no choice. I woke up one day with a symptom that led me to a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. And as a result of that journey I was about to take, I decided to keep a diary or a journal, if you will, of my experiences, and figured at the end of it, it would be really useful for not only myself, because I've still learned a lot through the journey of publishing a book, but for others to read. And that's what morphed into the book Positively Altered.
yeah, yeah. And what a journey that must have been, and I guess continues to be. It's like a new path set forth for you. And you were already in the business of holistic wellness through the chiropractic realm. Is that correct?
It's correct. So it's a dangerous thing when you have some education on a topic that you're then faced with yourself.
Right.
It brings back the memories of going through school where you have every disease and every symptom that you learn about. You become a hypochondriac, right? Because you know just a little bit too much. And then you have to figure out what's legit and what isn't, and
Hmm.
how to navigate that. And it's an interesting perspective to do it yourself, where, for most people, they're presented with it by somebody else who helps them navigate. And I really did the navigation alone.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that can, a lot of people do that now. They kind of work on a self-diagnosis basis where they go online real quick. They have a whatever, a scratchy throat. Is this COVID or whatever? They do a lot of self-diagnosis by going onto the internet and doing a search and coming up with 10,000 results. that might not be related to what's going on at all, from the good to the terrible. Um, so, working through that, you did have background in um, symptomatology, in diseases, pathologies. So, you had some kind of an understanding like this isn't right and this is the course of action I should take. Was one of the first things that you did was to go to a doctor to get a diagnosis from somebody official or a test or anything like that?
No, actually, it's interesting. So the very first thing that happened is, one day you wake up with something, and my something was a bump in the neck. It
Mm,
was, maybe a little half the size of a golf ball, and it was sticking out. And as it turns out, that's a swollen lymph node. And I thought, this is weird. I'm not sick. So I waited a few days, and then I thought, this is even weirder because I didn't get sick,
mm,
and thought, I better check this out. So I ordered my own set of labs because I do that in the office all the time.
right.
And when you get that back, and you look at labs for 2 decades and you're pretty calm about it, even when some of them don't come back lovely, because it's just what you do. And when it's on yourself and you go full blown sort of panic when you see
Mm-hmm.
something that looks a little scary, it's a little surreal. So I knew I
Mm-hmm.
was in trouble. I didn't know exactly what I was in trouble with, but I knew something was definitely, this wasn't a common cold. This wasn't COVID hitting me. I mean, this was,
Right.
yeah, a little bit more serious. So I sent myself for a chest x-ray that then was followed by a chest and neck CT scan that confirmed a couple lesions. And actually the CT
Mm,
scan, I lit up like a Christmas tree, as I joke, with all the
mm-hmm.
lesions on the film.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
referred myself to the University of Chicago to a head and neck surgeon there to actually have the biopsy. So the very
Right.
first time I was sitting across the desk from another physician to get some information was at that point when the biopsy came back to hear, the confirmation it's Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Mm,
So I
mm,
I knew cancer. I knew big challenge. I just didn't have the exact words for it.
right.
And sometimes the label makes it real.
Yeah. The big C, as it's known. Right. So you basically worked as your own advocate. I think that's really important no matter what, no matter who you are, to be an advocate of your own health and to
Always.
be proactive, not to kind of like, you know, hope that somebody else is going to fix it or make it happen for you or wait to hear results. It's really to be proactive, get your results in, and zone in on specifics like exactly what do you need to do next based on, and I think that's what a lot of people don't know. If they find a lump, uh, you were able to basically do your own advocacy to get you to get it by the biopsy, get the exam, run the blood tests. I imagine you were able to look at all that, so that's very important to have your own ability to know what you're looking at. It's kind of like we've come a long way as a culture, and a lot of us have no idea about wellness and healthcare and medicine and where we are with like our knowledge of blood and all of this. But you've made a study of it in your life, so you already have like this background. That's very valuable. If somebody else came up with this, I think that would probably be a pretty good first step, is to um, find a specific person that's really well equipped and knowledgeable about the subject, whether or not that's a doctor. A lot of people are afraid of doctors. It could be a chiropractor, it could be somebody that does these things and is able to begin the process for the person to advocate for themselves.
Right. I think it's really
Um,
important that there's a team, right? And the
yeah,
team might be one and it might be more than one, but the trust is really an important factor. Those of
right.
us that are in any branch of medicine, it really doesn't make a difference. We all have different skill sets, different opinions, different sets of values, and they need to be aligned, right? So as somebody is walking through, whether it's a minor challenge or in this case a major challenge, having
Mm-hmm.
that trust is just absolutely essential. However, at the same time, I'm a big advocate of questioning everything that happens, because I can sit here and tell you I'm a great practitioner. I've been doing this for almost 25 years. I've got a lot of clinical knowledge, and all of those things are very true. But I'm still human, and we're still learning. And there are still challenges within the field that I love when patients actually question me. It lets me sharpen my skill set. It allows me to question myself to make sure that my decisions are really pure and as correct as they can be. And that we're also on the same page and like-minded, right? Because
Right.
there's so many different paths in medicine that we can take, and none of them are right, and none of them are wrong necessarily. It's what works for that individual. So I have to feel good about the choices I make
Mm-hmm.
with the education that's provided to me. And I love when patients take that ownership as well to feel really good about their decisions, and they don't always mesh with the practitioners.
Right. Yeah. And that's very true. Is to have an alignment of purpose um, and also listening and being aware of when a professional is a professional and they know what they're talking about. you know. But second opinions are always there. But to like kind of give in at a certain point, there's always a point where maybe we're in disbelief of whatever it may be, and it's just time to say, okay, I give in. Let's get whatever that next step is accomplished. Now you work still as a chiropractor?
I do. I do.
Okay.
So yes, I see patients a couple days a week. I do a lot of telehealth. COVID was very good to the practice that way, where we
Mm-hmm.
can do exactly what you and I are doing, right? We do it through a
Right.
computer screen, which isn't as quite as perfect as in person, but still very valuable. And I run around the country doing a lot of speaking, which I've been doing for a lot of years, and just doing more of it now since the book has come out.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of speaking gigs, as it were, and you were talking specifically about your challenges and your ability to overcome them.
Right,
Does that
right.
sound right?
Yeah, it's really one of the things I love to share with people is really it's about perspective, because I don't care who you are and what you do, adversity is going to show up at some point. We all have junk, right? And some
Right.
of it's pretty significant. But at the same time, that level of significance is really based on your perspective of it. So if we can lessen the negativity of whatever that adversity is and try to find the joy and the gifts in it, we can create a little bit of a better balance to oversee those things. And then we look back and we say, okay, well, and we can be raw about it, like that sucked. And sometimes it really does suck.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the benefit of what we went through. And I look back on my experiences, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to do a lot of them again, right? Like,
Right. Right.
learned my lesson, thank you very much, and you move on. However, I'm very, very grateful for those lessons that I got out of them. So I want people to not ask for the adversity, but when it does show up, welcome it in such a way that we can grow and learn from it rather than be beat down from it. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of us spend too much time allowing things to beat us down.
Yeah. Yeah. We hold on to it. We create what I would call a slow traumatic experience. Like we kind of drag it on and talk about it and not forget about it and not dispel it. Uh, you know, we just kind of become that thing for maybe a month, and then really that just becomes part of us. It's just this thing that's lodged in us, this issue. Even if we get over it, whatever it might be.
hmm it
Um,
was interesting. A very good friend of mine challenged me when I had learned about my diagnosis. We were having lunch, and I basically was like, look, I don't feel sick. I don't want to be sick. This, like, this doesn't work for me. This whole cancer
yeah.
thing. It's not, it's not in the program. It doesn't work for me. And when I kept saying the words, I have cancer, she really challenged me. She said, no, you don't. It's not about having something, it's about experiencing it. And she was absolutely right. And when I changed my mindset to, I was walking through this, I was experiencing something that I wasn't in love with. I didn't
hmm
have it. I never got to own it. And that was where
mm,
some of the gift was, is because I never owned cancer, it really didn't become part of me. And it was just that experience, like going to an amusement, like I got to experience an amusement park, or visiting
right.
Hawaii, or anything else that sounds like it's fun, although the amusement park probably doesn't sound fun to everybody. But to me, those are joyous things. When I looked at this as an experience, it changed that outlook significantly. So
mm,
now when I can sit and say, there were times that I made cancer fun, and people think I'm nuts for saying that, and I might be a little bit, but I think the nuts is actually in a good way to accept that challenge. So,
yeah.
yeah, that slow process can be really painful. And if we alter it, I think that slow process actually can be extremely rewarding.
Right. And it is a mindset switch as well, a realization maybe that we aren't that thing. That and that's, I think, getting back to the innocence of the self, or the innocence of youth, where we may not have all the words to condense and trap us in a mindset. We're just a little bit more open to experience and experience as it is, and to maybe let it go as well.
Right.
Um, did you utilize meditation or something of that nature to kind of align yourself and kind of calm maybe out of control thoughts or anything like that?
Maybe as a form. I think more of it was really about self-talk and self-reflection. I'm
Mm.
very big on I am statements. I am healthy, I'm sexy, I'm brave, I'm
Ah,
powerful, I'm strong, I am, right?
yeah.
And it was those mantras that after the 20-minute pity party, because I did have a little bit of those, because
I
those
mean,
that
yeah,
makes you human, right? So I don't want everybody to think, it was all rainbows and sunshine, but you
right.
know, there was more of the talk mantra in a meditative version that when I hear the words out loud, I resonate a little bit better than the internal words. And I know for everybody that's a little bit different. Sometimes those internal messages, the quiet messages are more powerful. For me, it's I'm a visual and an audio learner, but when I hear it, um, it's easier to become that.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
words, the I am statements were really my form of meditation through this process.
Yeah, intonation
Hmm.
of the and of course it's training the brain and training the subconscious to start getting active. The idea is that the subconscious is completely amenable to the conscious, which is a wild thought, but we're in control
We
of the
are.
wild animal in us,
We
at
are.
any point in
I was
time.
never sick. I was never sick,
Yeah.
and yet, you threw out the big C word, which I believe stands for Cindy, not cancer, by the way.
Ah, there
I
you
think
go.
that's a better
Boom.
use of the letter. We'll call it little C maybe. It could be
Yeah.
the little C because I just didn't give it enough power to make it the big C.
Good. Good.
And
Yeah.
and that's the goal, right? Is to give the things power that reward us in a good way and decrease the power of those things that drain us. And yeah, it is the belief system. You can decide you can be well and you can decide you can be sick. I really do believe that. And
Yeah.
I see that all the time in my practice that there are patients that just will never get well. They don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to.
Yeah. People will throw up at a thought. The idea of something will make them want to throw up. I mean, that's a very physical reaction. Oh, did I lose you? Okay.
I
I'm
can
just
see
gonna.
you and hear you.
I can see you and hear you now too. I don't know what
I
happened
said
there.
when the blanks you said throw up and the screen went blank, almost like we needed a private moment there, to just purge.
Yeah,
So the timing was
exactly.
just perfect of that.
Wow. Perfect. Well, I'll go right back to that.
Yeah, let's talk about vomiting. I think that was a great
Yeah,
a great topic we were headed down.
yeah. People will throw up based on a thought. A simple idea will make somebody want to hurl.
Yeah. Yes, I
To
almost had
use
that
very
moment when you
explicit
lost me
words.
and I thought, how am I going to get back to you? So I
Yeah, yeah.
understand that.
The power of our conscious thought, and that's why I say it can override us. It can be overcome us, and it's something that we need to really learn. That we have the ability to entrain and kind of get in line and command with these I am
Mhm.
mantras. It's a great way to do it. And out loud is typically a really good way because it also involves sound vibration. So it really kind of tunes everything up. Um, that's a great practice. Now, is that something that's in your book?
Yes, I talk about those things absolutely, and it's about creating that environment for yourself um, to lift up. It's interesting. I actually had a patient today, and we were talking about these similar experiences, and she's really not in a great place. And she says, "I don't know how you do it." And I said, "I just made a decision to do it." It was really that simple, and not that the practice is easy. It's not, but that conscious decision to say, "Today, right?
Mm,
This is going
mm-hmm.
to be my mindset, and I'm going to follow that." Through this journey, it was only a decision I could make, right? Nobody
Right.
else had control over that. And I do talk about those types of things too, where we have to really, I think it's important that we take ownership of all of those decisions and walk the path we want. Because if you look at my journey, if you read the story, there's things in there that people are going to absolutely disagree with. They're going to say
Mm,
she was crazy for doing that or thinking
right.
that way or making that choice. And at the end of the day, I'm here to tell you the story. So my choice was correct and it worked for me. doesn't mean it's going to work for anybody else. And that's where I think some of that truth comes, is we have to recognize that they do get to be our decisions and our choices, and that's okay, right? This isn't
Mhm.
anybody else's decision.
Right. Yeah. This is something that, not just for you, but for everybody, the power of the choice. And I just was commenting on that earlier today about when you come to not a crossroads, but a T where your road ends at a stop and you have to make a decision whether you're going to go left or right. You have to decide how you're going to um, take the next step and where you're going to go. And it's not going to be in the same direction you were going, and it's going to be very opposed to a different direction. And I think that the lesson there is always to rise up and always find yourself making the correct decision, whatever that might be. Uh, and the other option is not the correct way. It's kind of good luck with that. But
Right,
in your
right.
own advocacy, though, it is your it's your job. So it's like you buck up and let's do this.
So the T is very interesting to me, because if you think about that, where I think a lot of people get stuck as well is, yes, you make a decision to go right or left, but what about the people that make the decision to not make a decision to go right or left? And now they're stuck at that crossroads, right? They're stuck
Mm-hmm.
at the end of that T. And unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of us live sometimes, right? We don't know how to go right or left. And we live in this state of indecision that actually is still a decision to not make
Mm-hmm.
one. And
Yeah.
sometimes that can be extremely harmful as well. So one of the things that I'd love to express to people is any choice you make can also be shifted. And shift is a really big word for me. I think it's an important word, because no matter what we do, we really aren't stuck unless we want to be, right? So if I make the wrong choice, if I go down the wrong path, whatever that means, then
Right.
I can wake up tomorrow or in an hour from now, I can go, you know what? I went right. Don't love the direction that's going. So let's turn around. Let's find the path that went left. And let's just try it a little different way and see if I get the outcome I was really looking for.
Yeah. And that is a powerful statement. And shift is one of those things where it's like, you know what? No, I don't like the decision I made. I'm going to adjust, realign, and reassess, and then make the next step and see
Mm-hmm.
if they can correct or whatever. Find a different, better path or whatever it might be. Wellness and general well-being is one of those things where we find ourselves in between two opposing forces typically. We're trying to find equilibrium between two forces, and that balance, that middle ground, could be considered harmonious wellness, not an extreme either way. um, were you able to find equilibrium um, first, kind of mentally, by aligning your spirit and your mind, and then your physical followed? Did it kind of seem like that's the way it went?
It needed to for me, because
Yeah.
the physical was a challenge, right? When you wake up
Right.
one day and learn that there are tumors all over your body, it'd be fun to just blink and make those go away the next day. I'd love to tell you I had an herb or a magic pill to do that, and it
Right.
doesn't exist, right? So
Yeah.
if you can't have that in the time frame that you want, getting there, the connection for me then was all mental, right? Knowing
Mm-hmm.
that I could get to that point in time and was going to get to that point in time, and it wasn't going to beat me. That was all mental, right? The physical
Yeah.
absolutely followed. Now I had to make the right decisions on what to do to gain physical wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And my journey was really interesting that way, because I did combine allopathic medicine with natural medicine, which posed some challenges on both directions, because people want you to either do one or the other and don't
Right.
always understand the mix. And for me, the mix was brilliant and perfect. But
Mm.
but knowing mentally that I was comfortable with my choices, confident in my choices, and that I could overcome, was that bridge for me.
Yeah, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. And it also allows you to have a good command over your resources, the people that are there to facilitate the allopathic way, or in your case, probably you were able to do your own prescribing for your own nutritional and herbal, I
Right.
guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my regimen, I mean, I don't know how to eat perfect in today's world, but I did as perfect as I thought I could, based on, of
Mm-hmm.
course, what's available. I was popping about 150 pills a day, which is going to seem excessive to most, but I did a ton of nutrition off my blood work and what I know to help actually lyse tumors and support
Yeah.
all of the poison, if you will, that I was putting in my body from a chemotherapy standpoint. So I always kind of joke that I clean up the mess. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes when we do some things, there's some damage that's left along the way and we have to clean that up. So I did a lot of work that way. And I really attribute to all of the extra things I did, including some IV nutrition as well,
Mm.
to getting through this beautifully. I mean, I missed one day of work because I fell down a flight of stairs. You never
Wow.
would have known I was going through this if I didn't tell you. And that's not real common, right? To
Right.
be at home miserable after a chemo treatment. Vomit, we'll bring you back to the vomit, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna have a common theme here, I think, at the end of this is somehow vomiting is gonna become that. But it,
Yeah.
lots of people don't do as well through the treatments, and I did beautifully, I believe, because of all of the additional nutrition that
Hmm.
I used along the path to keep me well.
Yeah. To create equilibrium in a very unequal um, chemistry and body.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, and yeah, scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. I don't want to make light of this either for, everybody listening thinking, well, I've walked through this or I know people walking through it. It's still scary. I don't want to
Hmm.
diminish that emotion. That there was definitely still fear built into this journey, even though I chose to, try to have a fun side to it.
Yeah. Yeah. We in our life energy work, we look at it as a dragon. So it's a big, big scary thing, a genetic, monster basically that's there and coming at you. Scary, but something that is a challenge that can be overcome, hopefully. Now, do you find that you are meeting a lot of people that are actively going through cancer treatments or have just got diagnosed and they're looking for answers? Is that kind of a lot of what you're seeing?
Yeah, I've had that anyway, just in my practice. In my world, we spend a lot of time with patients, and we have, I'll call them a lifelong patient, right? We see them for many years. We see their kids. Actually, I'm old enough. We're now seeing their grandkids, which
Yeah,
you don't want to admit, but we are, based on age, that's what happens.
that's what
And
happens.
and
Yeah,
I think as a result of that, because you spend many years with these patients, these people, you know, i- I mean, look, the incidence of cancer is much higher than we want it to be, right? And if they're not
yeah.
being personally touched through their own journey, it's certainly somebody that they know. So I don't know that there's more, so to speak. I think the awareness is a little bit different, where now there's a gravitation, of course, because since I've walked through this, there's a comfort for people, I think, to share that journey a little bit more
Mm,
openly. And
right,
even though my walk is never, ever going to be the same as anybody else's, for people to go, no, I know exactly what you're going through. That's never true. I don't believe that. That's never true. I have an
right.
idea. I can empathize. You know, I get the word. I'm not sure if I interpret it the same way as everybody else, but there's almost a camaraderie, right? In
Mm-hmm.
this club that nobody wants to be a part of, really.
Right. Yeah.
That I say, bring them. I mean, join the club and let's celebrate the wins in that club, and the openness to be able to share the fear and the joy that comes from it, and not to be embarrassed either by either one of those, I
Mm-hmm.
think has really opened up a unique door for people to take a different perspective through this walk. Because let's face it, most people don't have a good story when it comes to the
Right.
word cancer, right?
Right.
Even if they're
Exactly.
surviving. Um, they look at it as something they wish they had never experienced. It was horrible. How could it happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, there's again, I'm being repetitive here, but there is some joy in it. I learned a
Mm-hmm.
tremendous amount about myself. I restructured who I hang out with and who I want as part of my tribe. And I relooked at different things that were important to me in my family life, my personal life, my professional life. And it really was a great shift again for me to
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate what I'm doing
Yeah.
and if I
Yeah.
want to keep doing it.
Right. Yeah. It really realigned you, and the outcome ended up in the positive, which is
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm.
Um, do you have any events coming up or any kind of speaking engagements where you're going to be at that others can maybe find you at?
Oh my gosh. I love the timing of this question because I'm going to tell you no through the holidays. So this is my quiet time. So I take a
Oh,
break. I just finished 9 cities in 7 weeks
wow.
and ending in Napa, which was a great a great
Oh
program to
yeah.
end up, I guess, in wine wine country, right? Helping
Perfect.
that, I guess we can debate the health benefits of wine versus the non-health benefits, but so I'm really on hiatus until the end of January, where I'll be in Washington D.C., and then it starts up again. And I'm from Maine all the way back, through different parts of the country. So,
Wow.
certainly as things come up, it'll be available on my website, drsindyspeaks.com. And
Okay.
here's the promo pitch, right? But if
Yeah.
you go to the website and you sign up for the newsletter, we don't bombard you, but certainly, we can keep you informed as to what I'm doing, where I'm going to be, what's going on, and you can check those things out as they come up
Yeah.
if I'm in an area by you.
Perfect. Yeah. drsindyspeaks.com. And they can buy your book there as well.
There's a link to get the book, yes, but if you just go to Amazon, all things Amazon now, right? There's not too much you
Yeah.
can't get there. The book's available in paperback, hard copy, even audio. I recorded the audio myself, so if you want to hear
Oh,
me tell you the entire story from start to finish, you can get the audio version, which is kind of fun too.
that's great. Well, it was great having you on tonight.
Oh,
And
the pleasure's mine. This is fun.
yeah, yeah. And looking forward, maybe there'll be a second book.
There will be a second book and a third and a fourth.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there is definitely a plan, and we're duking out right now with my team. Do we go more down the wellness journey, or do we stay more in the memoir space? And both will
Mm,
probably happen. Just, we got to duke
yeah.
out which comes first.
Yeah. Nice merge.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again. And I hope you have a wonderful night and a great December.
Oh, same for
Time
you.
or
Happy holidays
January
to
too.
everybody, and take a little quiet time. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.